Graphic design is a form of creative problem solving. But what does this actually mean? We, as graphic designers, normally look for ways to solve visual problems in order for our target audience to understand the message more effectively. This can include logos, billboards, social media adverts, movie posters, stadium branding, book covers, and basically any design that consists of both imagery and text. For graphic designers to solve these problems, we make use of computer software along with other tools and techniques. This course will introduce you to the current industry standard software including Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign that can be installed on your computer or laptop. You will learn the most crucial skills in using these applications during this course. So buckle up, as this is going to be fun and practical. We will need to define some basic terms first before we can start designing, but I promise you that it is going to be quite interesting. In our first lesson, we will delve into the topic of defining graphic design, which is a form of visual communication. The elements of design will be identified next, and this entails all the visual aspects graphic designers use to create a design. From there, we will move over to a brief overview of the origin of design. Then, we will list examples of the type of design careers we get, along with some tips to create effective designs. As a bonus, I will do a brief introduction to the very powerful Adobe Illustrator, which we will officially learn next week. Let's kick off with some practical experience. I want you to look around you. You are probably sitting at your home or office desk. Perhaps you're in a cafe, or you might even be lying on your bed or a couch. The fact of the matter is that irrespective of where you are, there will definitely be signs of graphic design. It has become such a part of our daily lives, we don't always notice it. Do you have a cup of coffee on your desk? Do you see the print on it? This was created by a graphic designer. You might be snacking on something that came in some form of packaging. The label or design on this package was also created by a graphic designer. Even the logo on your device you're viewing this lesson on was created by a graphic designer. Graphic design is an extremely wide industry, and therefore it is important for us to understand what it actually means. If we can define graphic design, we can also refer to it as a form of visual communication. This means that a graphic designer uses visuals consisting of illustrations, text or typography, and also photographs to communicate to a target audience visually. Let's have a look at some examples. I will show you an image and you simply need to identify where graphic design is visible. Looking at this image of a street in Montreal, Canada, where can you spot graphic design? How many signs of graphic design can you identify? The signs at the top of the two shops are both a form of graphic design. Next, we have a Coke sign on the front door and also the notice on the wall at the bottom right. We have the window display on the shop front and the contact details underneath that. We have the shop signs with the shops on the right and also some form of design in the shop's window. At the shop in the front, you will notice the shop number, and there's even a non-smoking sign in the second shop window. In front of the first shop, you will also see a blue parking tag. We can even go as far and say that the graffiti on the right wall is also a form of graphic design. This photo of a mall in Romania also has quite a lot of graphic design. It is there to aid people in understanding the setting around them. How many forms of graphic design can you identify here? We have signs at the top right of the image that will indicate the location of a restroom or parking area. The logos at the shops will also help the shopper identify whether this is a shop that they will be interested in. The branding on the seats in the center of the hallway with photographs and text to advertise a brand or sports store is also a form of graphic design. Moving over to Times Square, New York, how many forms of graphic design can you identify here? It would take up the whole lesson if you had to identify all signs of graphic design on this image. I will spare you the counting and just say that this image literally booms with any and all forms of design. If you can identify any form of illustration, photography, or even text, perhaps a combination of these three, chances are that it's graphic design. Did you know that even in your home you will find graphic design in probably every room? How many forms of graphic design can you identify here? From the designs and icons on your phone or even computer screen, to the pattern design on your pillows, couch, and even your carpet. Even the design of the wallpaper was done by some type of graphic designer. We also have the teacup on the table at the right with the rim on its edge. This is also a form of graphic design. I would like to share an interesting fact with you. Did you know that the graphic design industry unveils numerous opportunities for self-employment? This means that you can make an income from your home or office if you prefer, with very little overhead costs. We live and work in a digital age, and this makes things so much easier. We can connect with one another on numerous levels and ways, so why not use this opportunity to grow your business? We use all these elements in a clever way to help solve one problem: to communicate effectively. This means that if the design you created using all these elements consisting of photographs, illustration, and text does not communicate effectively, irrespective of how interesting or aesthetically pleasing it may seem, your task as a designer is not done. Graphic design is there to make our everyday lives more convenient and hassle-free, without us realizing it. Thus, we like to say that good design is transparent or invisible, since we do not even realize it is there. If you see yourself as being practical and being able to identify and solve problems, I'm excited to tell you that this course is cut out just for you. In short, we as graphic designers are actually creative problem solvers. Now, you might still think that you are not artistic enough. I have some good news for you. Graphic design is so much more than simply being artistic. As mentioned, good design is transparent or invisible. It is there to make our lives more convenient and hassle-free without us realizing it. I would like you to consider how design has impacted you on a daily basis. A very simple traffic icon's purpose is to direct you as quickly as possible. These icons are even universal, meaning that almost anyone, irrespective of their language or cultural background, will be able to understand them. Considering that we have multiple students from across the world that speak various languages, I'm confident in saying that all of you will be able to recognize most, if not all, of these icons. Now that you have a better understanding of graphic design, can you imagine how the world would function without the use of visual communication? Having the ability to understand visual communication helps us navigate through life on a daily basis. Think about the ability to read a map or to understand an infographic. What about viewing a movie poster? The fact that we are visual beings and would much rather prefer to view designs at a glimpse before we decide to continue reading makes our task as graphic designers so important. The basic building blocks of design are referred to as the design elements. We will investigate the elements in lesson 2, but to put things into more perspective for you, I would like to introduce these elements to you. The elements of design consist of space, line, shape, size, texture, value, and color. All and any designs you have ever witnessed consist out of a combination of these elements. Let's have a look at some examples. I would like you to look at the wording and provide me with a number. On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is poor and 5 is excellent, how memorable do you think this wording is? It serves its purpose, right? It communicates a message. But is there a way we can make this more interesting? I'm sure that this does not really captivate you at the moment. Why not add some elements in order to make this more appealing? I will start off by simply breaking the sentence apart. The element that comes to play here is space. It immediately creates the illusion of reading less. Space also has the power to enhance certain elements. By adding another element, we can make the text even more interesting. Why not add line? Line has the power to immediately round it off. By adding a simple line or two, the text looks more interesting and might grab your attention even more. We can even change the appearance of the lines to make it even more interesting, as line does not have to be straight, but it can be wavy and even broken up. What about size? Size helps to create emphasis, and by changing the text size, you immediately know where to look first. You also have a general sense of the most important factor in this piece of text. Let's add some color. Color is another great tool to help create emphasis, but also to determine mood. Color is probably one of the most important elements, and understanding color psychology will aid you a lot when creating designs. Stay tuned as we will learn all about color psychology later in this course. We can continue to add and adjust elements until we get the desired effect. The more you practice, the better you get. I have now successfully applied a multitude of design elements to create an interesting yet effective design. Again, on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is poor and 5 excellent, how memorable is this wording? Did you notice that by simply using basic elements as well as typography, we made this piece of text a lot more interesting? 80% of this piece consists purely out of type. Comparing our final result to the original makes you not only realize the importance of elements of design, but also make you look at typography in a whole new way. Graphic designers not only use type to convey a message, but we see it as an element as well, something we can make more interesting to look at. The elements of design might seem quite simple, but the process of applying them is what makes a professional designer stand out from an amateur. I would like you to look at actual examples of where the elements of design have been applied effectively. This exhibition poster on the left consists out of 2 of the 3 visuals we referred to earlier. We have illustrations as well as text. Can you identify any of the design elements I've just introduced to you? We have space, line, shape, size, texture, as well as color visible in this composition. This billboard by design agency Doohickey includes all 3 visuals: photography, illustrations, and text. As for the design elements, we have space, line, shape, size, that's a massive burger, and texture. On the actual photograph of the burger, you can see texture, value, as well as a plethora of colors. The Google logo is another great example of graphic design in terms of visuals. It consists out of text. The text in this logo is actually a form of illustration as well, and we might even add illustration. With regards to the elements, we have space, line, all type actually consists out of line, shape, as well as color. By the way, have you ever tried to Google the word Google backwards? The layout of a magazine is another great example of graphic design. Visuals included in this example are photography, illustrations, as well as text. The design elements featured in this example are space, line, shape, size, texture, value, as well as color. The elements are the physical things on a design. The principles, on the other hand, are how we apply these physical things. We will delve even deeper into understanding the elements and principles of design in Lesson 2. Combining your elements and principles in a successful way will result in a visual unity to not only intrigue but also engage your audience. If you can successfully apply your elements and principles of design, you are halfway there. On top of it all, these elements and principles can be applied in all areas of design, from interior design to architecture, fashion, and even jewelry design. Now that you have a better understanding on graphic design, I would like to provide you with a couple of reasons why graphic design is a great career path. Firstly, technology allows us to work from almost anywhere and to even serve clients all across the world. This allows you to work from home or anywhere you prefer, offering great flexibility in your working environment. Whether you have children or are already full-time employed, you will be able to become your own boss if you would like to enter the world of graphic design. Starting off part-time, you can eventually turn this into a full-time career. One advantage of being a graphic designer is that you can do most tasks yourself, meaning that you will be your own boss. Whether you would like to work for an agency or whether you prefer to work for yourself, the financial advantage of being a graphic designer means that the only expense you have is a computer and internet. Since you might be serving clients on a national or international level, it means that you don't always need an office, saving you financially. Even though graphic design is very demanding, it does offer great job satisfaction since you get to work along with clients in making their dreams a reality. It is a satisfying career path in that your end result is something both you and the client look forward to. To fully understand graphic design, it is important to look back at its origin. Do you like history? Well, whether you do or not, I managed to summarize a full 17,000 years worth of graphic design history in just 3 slides. Why is the history of design so important? Do you fully understand the impact design history had on society? Well, I believe that one of the most important reasons is the fact that history helps us in making connections. Understanding your past allows you to connect it to your future. History also creates awareness and understanding, and it helps us to gain insight into different cultures that we might not be familiar with. A great example would be the simple invention that we take for granted, known as the printing press. The printing press was invented in 1450 by Johannes Gutenberg from Germany. If it weren't for Johannes Gutenberg, we would still all probably be illiterate today. That's assuming nobody else came up with a similar invention. The printing press had such an impact that before its invention, society had only an upper and lower class. After the invention of the printing press, it allowed thousands of people the opportunity to become literate and thus created a middle class in Europe and eventually throughout the rest of the world. Also, did you know that before the advent of books, which we refer to as codices back in the Middle Ages, people made use of scroll and stone or clay tablets? Both these options were quite impractical and difficult to carry around, so the codex was born. It is obviously impossible to cram the history of design into one timeline, never mind one lesson. So what I did was to load a more comprehensive history that you can access as part of your bonus content. This timeline basically breaks down the major events that formed graphic design. If you, like me, passionate about history, you will be amazed as to how major impact design had on our lives through the ages. What do you need in order to do this course? It is crucial that you have access to a computer. Graphic designers spend most of their time on a computer. Your computer should adhere to the following requirements. To access your computer specs for Windows, simply locate your This PC or My Computer icon. Right-click it and select Properties. Your computer specs should be listed under System. For Mac, you can simply click on the tiny Apple icon in the top left of your screen, click on About this Mac, and a window should appear indicating your computer specs. Graphic designers make use of a relatively fast computer, either a desktop or laptop. Currently, the industry standard for graphic design software is the Adobe package. As you continue with this course and get practical experience, you will get better at understanding these applications. The 3 applications, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, we like to refer to as the Holy Trinity when it comes to graphic design. These are the 3 must-know applications any designer should be familiar with, as they work in mutual relationship with one another. What is the difference? As you continue with this course and get practical experience, you will get better at understanding these applications. In short, Adobe Illustrator is a vector-based application, and like the name implies, it creates illustrations. Examples include logos, corporate identities, posters, and basically anything you can digitally draw on your computer. The amazing thing about vector illustrations is that they never lose quality and are very small in file size, meaning that they don't take up a lot of space on your computer. Photoshop, on the other hand, is a photo manipulation application used not only by graphic designers, but also photographers, animators, fine artists, and other creatives within the industry. You will make use of Photoshop to enhance or manipulate photographs. Photoshop also has the ability to create posters and other artwork. The difference in Photoshop is that it delivers content in raster format and not vector format. Raster format means that the image consists out of pixels. InDesign, which is my favorite, is a layout-based application and mostly used for the creation of books, magazines, and e-publication. It has the ability to combine all your Illustrator and Photoshop artwork into one document. InDesign has great ability in creating interactivity into e-publications and interactive PDF documents, making these documents really user-friendly for the end user to manage. Graphic design even correlates with other careers, and sometimes it can be the stepping stone into a different type of design career. For now, we will look at the various graphic design careers and also the skill sets needed to become these designers. I have stumbled across an interesting article in which Emily Gurevich explained these type of roles. The type of graphic designers that we will look into today are an advertising designer, environmental designer, publication designer, motion designer, corporate designer, web designer, packaging designer, as well as a product designer. The first type of designer is an advertising designer, and this is probably the most well-known and common form of graphic design careers, as it entails print media ranging from brochures to magazines, as well as digital design and social media design. The skill set needed for this type of career would be the use of Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, as well as InDesign. You will also need to make use of bulk email software like MailChimp or Email on Acid. Examples of what you will be able to do as an advertising designer are magazines and newspapers, brochures, email newsletters, social media graphics, as well as infographics. The next type of designer is known as environmental designer. Environmental designers would consider architecture and the environment to make spaces and places more attractive and efficient for people to move around in. It entails aspects and knowledge of architecture, interior design, industrial design, as well as landscaping. The skill set needed for this type of career would be the use of Adobe Illustrator and also Photoshop. These designers might also make use of 3D CAD software like AutoCAD or Maya to help their clients visualize the end result before actually constructing it. Alternatively, you can simply use a photograph of the existing space and use Photoshop to add the artwork. Examples include an exhibition space, mural artwork, signage, which nowadays can also be digital, office branding, as well as stadium and concert branding. Some of these design careers tend to overlap when it comes to skill. Like an advertising designer, publication designers focus on publications like magazines and newspapers. More recently, publication designers are focused on a more digital approach, including e-publications and digital magazines. The skill set needed for this type of career would be the use of Illustrator, Photoshop, as well as InDesign. Examples include books, we have ebooks as well as e-publications, magazines and newspapers, catalogs, as well as menus. Motion designers gained a lot of popularity during the last decade due to technical advancements. A motion designer takes design elements and creates the illusion of movement with these elements. A very popular application to create these movements in is Adobe After Effects. You still need to understand and learn the basics of design first before learning this application. The skill set needed for this type of career would be the use of Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, as well as more animated and motion-based software like After Effects and Maya. This is a great way to tell a story and is being used in TV advertisements, movie intros, text animations, apps and video games, to mention only a few. A company's brand needs to communicate effectively and quickly. A corporate designer's role is to aid the company in creating the successful brand that communicates successfully to its target audience. You will need to have a great understanding of the design elements and principles, which we will discuss later in this course. The skill set needed for this type of career would be the use of Illustrator, Photoshop, as well as InDesign, but mostly Adobe Illustrator, as it allows you to create illustrations including logos and corporate identities. Examples include logo designing, business cards, letterheads, as well as other office stationery. A web designer not only needs to be able to create an effective website, but will also need to understand how to make this website interesting. Coding lies at the back end of being a web designer. The skill set needed for this type of career would obviously be web coding, but on top of that, web designers will also need to make use of Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, along with web designing software like Adobe Dreamweaver or web-based applications like WordPress. Examples are the various websites you visit when browsing the internet. Packaging designers not only need to look at the aesthetics of a package, but will also need to consider and understand which material is best to use for a given package. Walking through a grocery store, you will realize that almost every item is in some form of package. Most of the times, it is the package that convinces us to buy a certain product over its rival. Hence, packaging design's role is to convince its audience without them even realizing it. The skill set needed for this type of career would be the use of Illustrator, Photoshop, and perhaps some InDesign. Next time you're out shopping, be more attentive to the type of packaging you see on the shelves of grocery stores. Our last type of designer is one that is relatively new to the industry. Some also refer to product designers as UX/UI designers. UX is the abbreviation for user experience and UI is the abbreviation for user interface. This basically entails the operating as well as the look and feel of digital products like mobile applications. Product designers need to view this digital product from a user's perspective to make sure that the functionality of the product is understood by its user and also that it operates effectively. Product designers will also make use of Illustrator, but also InDesign in order to aid them in creating effective layout and wireframes to set up their digital products. I don't want to send you empty-handed after this first lesson, so I have decided to share with you some valuable design tips. You can make use of these steps using almost any application, from Microsoft Word and PowerPoint to the more powerful Adobe package. Be sure to make notes. You will be amazed as to how far these simple tips will aid you in effective designs. The first tip that I would like to share with you is to limit your typefaces to only using 2. If you use too many typefaces, it will distract from your original message and your audience will focus more on the type used than the actual message. With this said, it is also a good idea to combine 2 contrasting typefaces. One interesting display typeface for headings and a transparent typeface for body copy. Looking at this example on the right, it is quite easy to see that too many typefaces do not communicate effectively. All 4 of these typefaces compete equally for attention and they just don't work together. This option, however, communicates way more effectively. It is the exact same message presented differently. The background also does not fight for attention, but helps your text to stand out. The second tip is one that a lot of beginners tend to fear: white space. White space is an element that should be utilized and not filled. Don't be scared of large open spaces. Instead, have your design elements fit nicely with your white space. White space helps to create emphasis, and a lack of white space actually creates chaos and visual disturbance. The second example is way more relaxing on the eye and communicates the message way more effectively. There is actually no excuse to warp or distort a picture. Don't warp your images under any circumstances. Nothing says amateur as much as a distorted or warped photograph. There is a simple way to avoid this, and this technique works in almost all applications. If you simply hold down the Shift key and drag one of the corners of your design, you should retain its proportions. The first key you should press when resizing is Shift, and the last key to release is also Shift. Releasing Shift too early will result in image distortion. Pixelation is the process of forcing a too small image or very low quality image into your design. Even if you think the image looks perfect, if it pixelates, don't use it under any circumstances. Instead, rather get a high quality image. There are a couple of websites where you can download good quality images from, so instead make use of them. Please just read the fine print, as you will most of the times need to give credit. You got it for free after all, so the least you can do is to give credit where it's due. Pixabay and Freepik are very popular stock websites where there are some great content for you to download free of charge. Our last step is to make use of contrast. Be careful of little contrast, especially when it comes to text. The most important function for text is to be legible. So contrast by using either size or color, or even both, is key. Having said all this, please be careful of using too vibrant colors on top of each other as well, as this can exhaust your viewer. As with reading the second example, the content is a lot easier. Don't force poor design onto your viewer. I would like to leave you with a brief introduction to Adobe Illustrator to get you all excited for what's lying ahead. You might feel intimidated at first, but there are some simple tools that will make this a lot easier. Of course, practice makes perfect, but at least it's a fun way to learn these applications. So let's get into it. Okay, so I've opened up Illustrator. Just note that this demo is here to show you the capabilities of Illustrator. We're going to learn Illustrator step by step in a later lesson. I've previously created this type of illustration with the use of only type, if you can see. So you remember when we said in the previous, one of the previous sections, that we can actually use type to design with. And I want you to look at type differently from now on. It's not only there to communicate a message, but we can make it actually very interesting. To do this, I simply took the type tool, which is T for shortcut if you're a shortcut type of person like me, and I type in the word graphic design. Oh, all caps. Graphic design. Okay. To resize, there's always more than one way. Normally 3 ways to do something in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. So if someone tells you, hey, you're doing this wrong, this is the way you should do it, remember there's more than one way, so you're not technically doing it wrong. You can either resize the type by typing in the size of the point size or the font size here, or I can hold in Shift, use my selection or move tool, and drag the corner. Remember, Shift retains the proportions, okay? Once I'm happy with my size, I'm going to cut through the type now. To do this, I'm going to use the line tool in conjunction with the shape builder tool. So click, I want a diagonal line, drag through my type, get the nice line that I want, happy with that. Currently, if you look on the left-hand panel, you'll see that the fill of my line and the stroke both are set to transparent. There's nothing there. If it's got a red diagonal line, it means it's transparent. I'm fine with that because I'm only going to use this line to indicate where I'm going to cut my layer or my type. But before I can cut my type, you will see that I won't be able to cut it because it's still in type form. I need to convert it to outlines first. To do that, select your type and you can go to Object, Type, and click on Create Outlines. Alternatively, again, if you're a shortcut person like me, I like to use shortcuts, and you can press Ctrl-Shift-O or Command-Shift-O if you use a Mac. Then we're going to select everything on this piece that I've just created. So clicking and dragging with the selection tool, make sure that you overlap so that you've got everything selected. I have selected the type, which is converted to outlines now, as well as the line, the diagonal line, which I'm going to use to cut out. I'm going to go over to my shape builder tool, Shift M for shortcut, and select all the top parts of the type. And also I'm going to leave the bottom part because if I cut the top part, it's obviously going to separate itself from the bottom part. So I'm going to hold in Shift. You can click and drag, but it's going to remove all your inside part of the letters. You see there? We don't want that. Okay, Control-Z to undo. And select everything again. Where's my shape builder? Hold in Shift and click on all these. You don't actually need to hold in Shift, apologies. Just so that we're going to cut the top part of our type and separate it from the bottom part. Okay, nothing's happened. Why is this? Well, we need to ungroup all of this first. So I'm going to select my type again, right click, ungroup, deselect it. If you go and you select it again, you will see that each part of this is now on its separate layer or separate. Okay, click and drag to select only the top part. And remember that part of the G. Oh, it didn't cut through. Let me just see there. Oh, why did it not cut through there? I forgot to cut it. Quickly going to cut it again. Voila, as easy as that. Okay, now I need to group that with the rest of the top letters. Shift, Control, G for group or right click group. Now that I've got all of this grouped, I can simply use the arrow keys on my keyboard to separate them. Do you see how cool that is? You can click and drag around as well, but that's way too far. And yeah, get the desired effect you want. Not too much. We still want to read this, obviously. Then the next tool I'm going to show you is the appearance panel. And under the appearance panel, we're going to click on the blending mode, which is really cool. So again, I need to select everything that I'm working on now. Otherwise, it's not going to add the effect. On the right-hand panel, you'll see the circle with a dashed line. It's called the appearance panel. I'm going to click on it, click on opacity, and here where it says normal, this is the blending mode. I'm going to change my blending mode to multiply. And like the name implies, it's going to blend shapes and layers together. Nothing's going to happen now because they are not overlapping. But as soon as I have overlapping shapes and illustrations, you will actually start to see this effect we have here at the top. Okay. Next, I'm going to change the color. Selecting my top part, I'm going to change it to blue like we have here at the top. And the bottom part, I still need to group this. Make sure you select everything there. Is that part also selected? Holding shift, apologies. Click, shift. It is selected. Okay. And let's change that to yellow or red, ready color. Okay, nothing's happened because nothing's overlaying. Okay, but they need to overlap. I'm going to select my top part again and copy and paste it. You can either go to edit, copy and edit, paste, or if you're like me, Control C, Control V. Love to do that. And we need to change the color, otherwise we won't see the effect. I'm going to change it to a dark purple or maybe a red color. Okay, how cool is that? And by using the arrow keys, just move it around so that they overlap slightly more. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to read. Same with the bottom part. Select all of them. See, I haven't grouped them. Control G to group. Then again, Control C and Control V, or Command C and Command V for Mac users to copy and paste. I'm going to change the color to blue. Okay. Overlap. And we have this awesome effect. This is what the blending modes does. Maybe change the color to green or yellow. And as easy as that, we have actually designed with type. Get out and take a picture of your surroundings. Identify any form of graphic design visible within your photograph and share it on either your favorite social media platform. I want to thank each and every one of you so much for joining me in this lesson. I really hope that you enjoyed it. See you next time.